Lost in the shadows of who she used to be. Does mom have a name?
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Does Mum Have a Name? We have a beautiful special guest here with us today, Sue, but unfortunately we don't have Nicole. She is doing behaviour support duties and that she just cannot get away from, and we understand that. That's how we roll. So welcome, Sue. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's an
Can I
absolute
just
pleasure to be here.
start? Thank you. Can I just start now? You're with the Iris Foundation, and up until recently, you were an EO. Now you're a CEO. Can you please explain your role and Iris Foundation for us, please?
Yeah, so thanks, Deb. I'm CEO now. I think Iris has had some major growth, and we were founded back in 2006, and in 2016 we became a public benevolent institution. And since then,
Great.
we have grown from strength to strength. And I think that was just an acknowledgement to put a C in front of my name as a Chief Executive Officer of the growth of Iris Foundation in that time. So we're a mental health charity on the Central Coast of New South Wales. And we're all about, our main mission is the prevention of suicide. But we're not in crisis management. We look at that early intervention. We're trying to mitigate those problems before they escalate. And it's a lovely space to work in because what we're doing is building strengths in people and giving them tools to navigate the circumstances of life. And we do that everything from 9 to 99 years of age. So I think our key takeaway is our programs in the primary schools with years 11 and 12. Ages 11 and 12, 5 and 6 in the primary school. So before that transition into high school, it's a peak time for them in their growth of who they are and who they want to be and how they're making friends. And that's where we find the biggest impact that we can make in that pre-adolescent age group. So, and alongside that, we've got resilience training that we do in workplaces, transition to work, out in the community. There's a lot that encompasses Iris. There's a lot.
It does.
But the basics of what we do.
Yeah. And I look at it as, I call it life skills, but like real life skills, not doing the dishes or washing up. It's that building that resilience, that mental health, and I always talk about it's very similar to building up your own physical health. You go off to the gym and you do all sorts of things. And this is about our mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can learn resilience. It is a teachable skill. Yeah. I mean, some people are born with a little more than others. But there's varying types of resilience as well. And it fluctuates on a daily basis.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, you could have a flat tire on the way to work or something. Well, there goes your resilience that morning.
That's right.
That's where the training comes in. That's where you're able to find your solution and move forward and not let that affect the entire day. Yeah. That's what resilience is about. Yeah.
And you've got a lot of projects, but before we move on, I just want to explain to the listeners that I actually work also for the Iris Foundation, and I absolutely love it. They know that because I put it in my intro. And I have to tell you a little story, and I probably have told you this, Sue, but working also for the Central Coast Family Psychology, I was coming away from a program this one morning, and the manager of CCFP called me and said, "Oh, you sound really bright and bubbly. What have you been doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm just coming away from a Cool Connections program." And she said, "I can hear it in your voice how it actually fills your bucket back up,
Yeah.
And it does. Like,
it has a rub-on effect, doesn't it?
It does.
Absolutely.
And I know your beautiful group of facilitators, we come away sometimes going, oh, I think one of our facilitators, Ness, always says, oh, I came away feeling like I've given a pound of flesh. And it is true because we're dealing with 11-year-old and 12-year-old kids.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. The space is beautiful, and the amazing things that we get from that, the feedback and because I'm in a lot of roles where you don't always get to see what outcomes happen. You've just got to
because
believe.
that program is 8 weeks long.
Yeah. And
One
you
in the
see
primary,
that
sorry to interrupt, the
growth.
program in the primary school is 8 weeks long. So you really get to see that transition. And I might go in on that last week to deliver some certificates to them. How exciting is that? And I'll be saying to the teacher, oh, geez, that's a vibrant little one there, you know, and she'll be going, we haven't heard that one talk all year. And look at them now, you
Yes.
know, and oh, yeah. So, you know, transformative, but I have to say, it's the quality of the facilitators, Deb. You were amazing, as are all our facilitators. That's the difference right there. Yeah, yeah. You do
I,
wonderful work and so
I have
appreciate
to
it. All our
agree.
facilitators. Yeah, yeah. I love them all. Love working in this space. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're all so different, the facilitators. Aren't we just? Like, you're a mother that has to bring all of us in, you know, and we're all so different, bring such different personalities, but we just adore each other and what we can all bring.
Isn't that humanity? But we are all different and we
It
all
is.
accept each other's differences. But in those differences are all the strengths of everyone too. So
Yeah.
everyone brings their own strength to the table, and we work with that. Amazing
Yeah.
results. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you're an amazing leader. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. I try hard.
So we'll move on because I know that we're both very passionate about the next topic we're going to talk about. So, can you explain to us one of your little projects? It's not so little, but one of your amazing projects that has been launched, I think, over the last few years, last couple of years?
Yeah, so we have some bespoke projects with Iris Foundation. One of them is our Because We Care boutique, which dresses women who are in need of clothing, might be from domestic violence or release from jail or any other circumstance in adversity. And we dress them for, you know, court interviews, job interviews, or whatever. That's a lovely service that we do. And we have a women's
Beautiful.
network, CBWN, that's attached to that as well. And but our newest project that we brought on in December last year is the Debbie Gaunt Foundation. Now, that was created by the Gaunt family and Craig Gaunt, and we've been working with them as what we would call an auspiced organisation for 3 years, and it has grown immensely and was now adopted as a project of Iris Foundation in December last year. So, because it is just, well, this one opened my eyes. So, Debbie Gaunt Foundation is all about perimenopause. Craig lost his wife to attribute that to perimenopause and the effects of, and he is determined that the awareness and the knowledge will get out there, not just to women, but to men as well, and to young girls as well, because there's a lot in that subject that isn't out there in the open conversation, you know, and
Absolutely.
it's just, you know, ooh, I don't even know where to start with that, Deb, because, you know, after 3 years of
I
researching into
know.
this with Craig, it just blows my mind. I'm post-menopause and
Yeah.
I had no idea,
Yeah.
no idea. And when I look back on my journey, that reframes a lot of what happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's great. I feel like I always thought I was postmenopause. Um, but I went to one of your information nights about a
Mm,
month ago,
mm.
and my lord, one of your other facilitators, your trainer, Nikki, and I just sat there together, and just our mouths were open. We were like, we could hear the little, you know, drop of,
Yeah, it's dropping.
understanding, the
Yeah,
penny drop. Yeah, and we're like,
yeah,
wow, wow.
yeah.
You know, and I reflected back on my journey through perimenopause. I was 48 to 50 when I was really in that perimenopause stage. And I wasn't feeling good at the beginning, and for about a year. And I said, I was talking to mum about it, and she said, maybe you should go and get your hormones checked. So I did, and I don't know much about it. That's all I did. And yep, you're in perimenopause. You can go off and see someone and go on to HRT, or, you know, there's other options. And I thought, I don't know why. I think I was just busy, and I forgot about it. I let it go, taking care of myself. But for 2 years, I was so flat,
Mm,
you know, and mum
mm,
would say, you know, I got involved in everything. I was still living my life, but those hormones, I was just flat for 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. And for some, it's more than 2 years. And I might add to that, Deb, that a blood test is not a definitive.
It doesn't. And
It's
that's what
not
I learned
definitive.
too.
And that perimenopause, by the time you were well aware of it, it had probably been activated many years before. And it's all those
Yeah.
subtle changes. It can be 10 years before your last period that perimenopause can
Yeah.
start. Anywhere from 10 to 2 years before your last period. And that's a long time. And it's all those little subtle things of, the sleep starts to change, the mental health, exacerbated, and anxiety might come in, and depression might come in. And I mean, if there's any
That's right.
that are things I've never had before, they're sudden and they're new, that's time to question that right there. It's frozen shoulders. It's all
Yes.
and pains.
Crazy stuff.
When we lose our estrogen, when we go into perimenopause, it affects every organ in our body. It's an anti-inflammatory, and everything is exposed. Yeah. And I'm not a doctor. But I've just heard and listened and read a lot. If you're missing that anti-inflammatory component and you have any pre-existing illness or whatever, and that's what happened for me, everything just got exacerbated, and I just attributed it to my illnesses. And never thought for a minute, but there's some people think that they're going through early dementia. But it's this brain fog that might come with it as well. And I think there's probably you saw those symptoms up that night.
The slides.
I think there's about 80 of them. It affects every part of your body. Yeah.
And we, and even the simplest ones like itchy skin or itchy eyes I fobbed all that off as I've got to take better care of myself. I've got to drink more water. I've got to put moisture onto my skin, things like that.
Well, if you look at it, you're probably in your early 40s where that might start. For some, it's in their 30s, most people going through menopause around the 50 mark, I suppose, but in that earlier 40 age group, and you are busy in life. You are so busy in life. You've probably got teenagers in the house. Well, you possibly have aging parents. You're probably in a career of some sort. And you were juggling 1,000 balls, and the one person you're not noticing and taking care of is yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that was just my little story. But when we think about Debbie and Craig's journey, that was quite serious. That was serious, clearly, and very sudden.
Yes. Very sudden indeed.
Talk us through what happened?
She had quite a psychotic episode, Deb. So that is the extreme edge of, and a very terribly sad story for him and for his, his children that were in their early 20s. Yeah. Anyway, emotional.
Yeah.
But Craig's like, he had no idea. And, in hindsight, you'd look there for maybe a couple of weeks even, there might have been a few little symptoms there that he's kind of like, what is that? But there was never time. For that to evolve to anything because she was gone. But I think for what Craig's trying to say is it's just as important for the family to understand and know about all of this as it is for the woman, because the woman's going through something. And if the partner or even the children don't understand what that is and how to help and how to support, that it is not just for women, it is whole of society that needs to know about this. These women are in the workforce, their mums in a home, their partners. If there was this broader conversation and understanding about this journey that every woman goes through, every woman, some better than others, some don't even know it's happened, some quite horrid, and then you've got this middle group of people as well. But if that conversation happens and people are aware of it and understanding of it, it makes the journey so much easier. I was sitting with a friend the other day, and he had been away overseas and had inadvertently fallen in with a conversation with two women that were influencers in that perimenopause space. And he learned what he never knew about perimenopause in that drinking session with them. He's come back to his partner and gone, I heard this. Do we need to have a conversation about this? And she said, oh my goodness, yes, because I've been trying to shove that down and ignoring that it's happening, but it's definitely happening. But what
That's
that
beautiful.
open up a doorway of conversation and,
Yeah.
and helped her acknowledge where she was heading in the journey she was on, but acknowledge that with his support. Can you imagine the difference of that?
I do. I can. Absolutely.
What's the matter with you today? What's the matter with you today?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you going, I don't know.
I know.
I got no idea.
I remember my youngest son, and, you know, God love them. No one knows what's going on. But I remember him saying to me one time, oh, Mum, can you stop crying? Can you be like a normal woman going through menopause and just be angry? And I'm not an angry person, but it's so funny. And you know what? I want to add on to what you were just saying. After that night, that information night, I was around my family's, my mum and my dad's home with my family, and I was just spouting all about it. I was like, oh, God, I went to this information night and I learnt this and I did this and da-da-da-da-da. And Ian, my stepfather, God love him, that really showed me how we all need to hear these stories, because he looked at me and my mum, because it was just us two women there at the time, and said, did you guys go through that?
Yeah.
You know, and he was so genuine and concerned, and what did I miss out on? But we were able to chat about it as a family, you know.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
Yes. And the conversation's all important. All important.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Debbie Gaunt Foundation is on a mission to have that. To have that message out there. Craig has a bigger mission. His mission is that we would have a menopause clinic here on the Central Coast. And he's taken great strides to that, but, you know, that's a long way down the track, possibly. But in the meantime, what we've been doing, particularly from that information night, there's now a directory on the Debbie Gaunt Foundation website. There's now a directory of practitioners, and that could be, you know, exercise physiologists. It could be physiotherapists. It could be dietitians. It could be any of those people that women might tend to go to rather than their doctor or a psychologist or whatever. They certainly have a part and a place in this. But first of those initial things where you just, I'm getting achy, I'm getting whatever, you might be at some other practitioner for that. Yeah. So we're setting up a directory of those that have put their hand up and said, you know, we have an interest in this space, we're looking at it, and we're keenly interested to help support these women. We're hoping that directory will grow. We know it will grow and be a point of reference, because one of the toughest things is trying to find someone out there that will listen, to find the right doctor, to find the right practitioner. That's one of the hardest things, and we're hoping that will bypass a lot of that frustration. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what I loved about the evening. There was a lot of allied health professionals there. And to know, like, you're absolutely spot on. People will go to those professions and maybe drop a few symptoms or hints about what's going on for them. But these allied health professionals can be now more aware, you know, and think more about those hormones and what changes are going on in the body.
Yeah.
One comment that was made was how we can potentially be misdiagnosing women with anxiety and depression and not actually looking what's going on with menopause.
Yeah. And I think this is why it's very important that we need to be having these conversations with GPs and mental health professionals, and building stronger awareness out there. It was Dr. Shauna Watts that brought our attention to all of this, and she's been amazing and an amazing support for the foundation, but her knowledge is vast. And, you know,
let us know those 5 people. Who were the 5 people?
So there was Dr. Shauna Watts, a local GP here on the Central Coast. There was Dr. Kelly Hankins. So she's an obstetrician and gynecologist at Intuition Private up in Newcastle. Dr. Jeff Otten, amazing knowledge in that gentleman right there, a gynecological oncologist in Newcastle at Lambton. Naomi Sirio, she's a clinical psychologist. Sojourn Psychotherapy, that's right. And Jackie Allison, an exercise physiologist from Transcend Health. And she was they were all interesting. Well, you were there, Deb. That was just information overload, wasn't it? And came away so much better understanding of what that all is. And I think knowledge is powerful.
Yeah.
I think knowledge is really powerful. You know, if you have let's just talk like an illness in your body or something, and you might have a stomach ache and something, and you might go to doctor and it's undiagnosed, and that might go on for some time, and then finally you get a diagnosis of, oh, it's this, and you go, oh, at least I know. At least I know, and once I know, then I know how to move forward and what options
And
are
manage
there.
it.
Do I do HRT? Or do I you know, is it HRT? Is it my diet? Is it my exercise? Is it all of those things? And it probably is all of those things for some. Yeah. Mm.
I know. No, it was amazing. So much information. And what I really enjoyed was just watching all of these allied health people with a lot of, you could hear the pennies dropping around the whole room, you know, like everyone was moved just as much as we were. So it gave me, it really influenced the way I started to practice myself. And it was like the next day I was able to pick up on a few little things about a client I'd had. And I was saying, have you got an appointment with a gynecologist soon? She goes, I do actually. I was like, maybe you can talk to them about these things as well, you know. So I was happy that she was moving on to someone else, you know, physically. So that was great.
But
great
in your
information.
support of other people, doesn't that make it easier for you to understand where they're at and to recognize those signs and symptoms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know one person at the night asked about how you approach that, and the guidance from the professionals was, especially the male doctor, he was like, we need them to be able to decide what they want to do. We can give them the information, but they're the ones that need to want to explore this.
Yes.
So we're just supporting these people in exploring who they are themselves.
That
what's
Q&A
going on for them.
on that night was so encouraging from all those practitioners in the room. It was so encouraging, their interest in this subject. And I know that Craig's been doing amazing work in this space to get it to where it is to date, and much more to come. There is a vast gap of knowledge in this arena. And I know there's a lot of talk out there about menopause at the moment. It has become a topic of conversation, but just talking's not enough either. There needs to be some action too. And that's what he was championing hard for. And
it's not just the
alongside of him,
ladies. Sorry. It's not just ladies, women going through menopause in a natural course of life. I mean, Nicole would have loved to have been here to talk to you, because she's had a lot of, you know, surgeries where I think she said that she hit perimenopause straight away, you know.
With a bang, yeah.
Yeah, with a bang.
It's unavoidable if you're a woman. It's part of life. It's part of who and what we are. And it needs to be treated as such too. And I think to acknowledge that journey that women go on, and it's not always easy, but you know what? We are so tough. And I have to say, sitting in this post-menopause era that I'm in, oh my goodness, it was quite a struggle to get here. And I wonder if that struggle makes this all the sweeter, because it's an absolute calm blessing when all those hormones stop raging.
No.
And you get some wisdom and some tolerance, I think. And And is it because you've been through so much that you just go, huh? You know, and by now the
letting
kids
it all
are
go.
home, and yeah, but for me, this is one of the better parts of life. This
So there's a
older.
light. There's a light at
Oh,
the end of
I'm
the tunnel.
loving every minute of this. I think I get better and better every year at the moment. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
true. So true.
yeah,
They do say
so
that women are like a fine wine. They get better with age. No, but you're
yeah,
gorgeous and I'm so grateful to have you. So basically the whole support and services for the Iris Foundation stand for is prevention of suicide.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah. And unfortunately, we're seeing it a lot more in younger kids. And then we've also got that bell curve of ladies in their 40s, that are really suffering. And I think with Iris, all the staff with the Iris Foundation have unfortunately had a lived experience of experiencing suicide in their family or friends. But you have an annual event, is that right? Called the Tree of Dreams.
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Tree of Dreams was created from a group of ladies at Budgie held at the Budgie Hotel, a massive, big, beautiful tree out the front there. And people were encouraged to write tags to hang in the tree. And the messages of support, they might have been of remembrance, whatever their heartfelt was. And they were encouraged to give a donation at the same time in support of Iris Foundation and the work that we do. That started, I think we're up to about see, COVID messes me around with my years a bit
Yeah,
now. Might be up to our sixth or seventh year, and it's on again on the 19th of December tomorrow. Yeah, at the
yeah,
Budgie the Budgie Hotel there has just been remodeled, and the tree's looking more beautiful than ever. And we'll be back there again, and the tree lights up. We have a lovely lady, Wendy Gill, who's written a song for the Tree of Dreams, and she'll bring her guitar. And it's just a place and a time to remember those that we might have lost, to
yeah,
connect as a community, and
yeah,
give strength to each other. And we're all about resilience and hope and connections. They're the pillars we built Iris on, and that kind of epitomises all of that on that night. Yeah, it's a very special evening. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm.
I haven't been for a couple of years, but I will be coming.
Oh,
I
that's
believe
wonderful.
I went to one when it was at
Wyong.
Wyong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the milk factory. Yeah,
the milk
correct.
factory. Yeah, I think
And
that was my first experience.
I mean, sadly, Iris was built off the back of a tragedy. It was Bev and
Yes,
Dawn are the founders, and Bev had lost her granddaughter to suicide, and was wanting to. Didn't want anyone else to have to go through that hurt. If
absolutely.
there was a way of mitigating that, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what Iris has been about from the get-go. Yeah, and we
there's a,
just choose to start early. Government's throwing so much money at crisis management, and it needs the money, but unless we take a step further backwards and go, all right,
yeah,
let's start earlier here.
earlier.
That it's just going to continue. It's just going to continue.
I know.
And I think as a community, we can all do that. It's as simple as, your little interactions with everyone on a daily basis. It's as simple as staying connected with people. You have to, we're born and bred to be connected with people. That's what
That's right.
humans are. Yeah. And, to stay connected. And it's those little interactions. I went somewhere the other day and I was getting a coffee or something, and someone in there said something to me and gave me a smile. And I walked out of that place with the biggest smile on my face, and I hopped in the car, and I just thought, that just set the tone for the day. So lovely. It wouldn't have mattered if
Absolutely.
someone had cut me off in the car or whatever. Then I was just in a happy mood, and all it had taken was that. Do you know what I mean? And I think if we
I
look for that,
do.
if we look for those little serendipities throughout the day, they're there.
Yeah.
They're there. It's yin
They
and
are.
yang, everything. And
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
say that, there's a yin and a yang to everything. There's always something that you can find. I remember my mum when she was going through dementia, and you would say, "You want to go for a coffee, Mum?" And we'll go to this coffee shop, and she'd go, "Oh, I've never been there before." Well, would have been there yesterday, but that didn't matter. Yeah, but I remember her walking outside, going, "How blue is that sky? Oh my goodness, look how blue it is!"
Yes.
It was all those small things and the pleasure she got from them. Geez, it was lovely being around her, even if you were listening to
Yeah.
the same conversation over and over and over.
Yes. Yes.
But it was lovely being with her because she had that genuine love for what was around and the appreciation. Yeah,
It's like a childlike,
very
you
much,
know,
very much so.
awe of what's, yeah. I remember working in a dementia facility a few years ago, and a couple of decades ago now. And I remember thinking, for the ones that were stuck in a joyful time, I thought we could all learn so much from that. Really simple, appreciating the blue sky,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
sorts of things. I don't recall it so vividly now, but I do remember thinking I definitely could take some cues from these people.
I think,
Yeah.
Deb, you just wanted to sit back and get looked after for a little while, maybe.
Maybe.
We all
But
need that nurturing.
I was resonating with your story about this just smile. Like I'm out on the road quite a lot, and I'll talk to anyone. I'll
Yeah.
just, if I've ducked to the shops and I'm putting shopping in the car, and the lady next door to me is putting her shopping in the car, have a chat about the weather and what's going on, and just that connection. You can see that smile.
You've lifted their spirit, but I think internally yourself, you've created.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've shared with someone in the world, and if someone's having a really tough time of it, I would say to them, go outside, put your feet in the grass, and get yourself outside. Doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
raining or wherever, but go outside, move.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, go help someone else.
Yes.
And it might be just you want to help with that in the car, as you say, but go help someone else. Take the focus off you and go help someone else. And it's amazing how things can change and your world can change just with those small little interventions. Yeah.
Change of perspective, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
we've taken that focus off away from our problems.
Yeah.
And we've put it onto someone else. And that's a really good strategy for anyone listening, that when we do get so low and down and beaten by life, we can actually have a tunnel vision of all the negatives that's going on. But I remember my grandmother said the same thing to me, Sue, when I was a child. She said, if you ever feel bad or low, go and help someone else. And that was just a good old fashioned,
It was. Yeah.
type of mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've lost a little bit of that sort of connection now too. Yeah.
A little bit of the connection.
I do believe that there's a very strong relationship between your physical health and your mental health. And I do believe that looking after yourself and having that regular exercise or whatever, you can fit it in somewhere. You can fit it in somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it's just 5 minutes to yourself for the day, to center yourself, take that deep breath, recognize your breathing, and be mindful of what you're feeding your body as well, because
True.
yeah.
But when we're younger, we think that we can
I know.
do anything,
We
and then
could,
it starts creeping up
yeah,
on us. Life comes back to bite us.
yeah. But I
But I
know
was thinking,
myself when I'm eating, when I'm in my healthy mode, which won't be at Christmas time, when I can recognise the difference in my sleep, and I can recognise the difference in the energy when I wake up, and it's all wrapped
Absolutely.
and it's all intertwined. And
Yeah.
I just think that key message is you're important enough to take care of you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be mindful. That's right. And we're all, no one is, immune to challenges. And the best, I remember, and been on this planet a few years, so I've experienced a little bit. But I remember a girlfriend and I used to just go for a walk, take our shoes off, and walk down at the local park.
Mm.
And because we were both going through separate situations, but we weren't as strong as we are today. We were really quite challenged by life. But just that ritual each week, walking around without our shoes off, it took time, but our mental health started to get better.
Yeah, it's not immediate. It's not immediate, but if you can find some sort of a routine to have that happening, and
Yeah.
nothing like spongy
Yes.
grass,
To put your
putting your
nice
feet in it, yeah,
feet,
without the
yeah.
indies, but nothing
Yeah, that
quite
would be
like
good.
it, but it does ground you a little bit, yeah. And it's hard in a busy life to find those moments.
It is
It is
hard.
difficult, but it's not impossible, and it's worth the effort to find it. Yeah.
It is worth it.
Mm.
And not just those other things. Like we were talking about my wall, and that was a
Love it, Deb.
painting sticker decal thing. And I tell you what, it was it's my wall, so I can do what I want with it. But it was so therapeutic. Instead of painting something small, I'm like painting. I was like, oh, I love this. So
Yeah,
finding those joyful things too, and taking that time to do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know why we ever thought life was meant to be easy. Who said that once? I don't know, but
I know.
I don't know. But I don't know why we think it's supposed to be a smooth ride. Life is just challenges, and when you overcome them, the other side of that can be a really nice space to be too. But I've lived a few years too, Deb, and there's been a lot of challenges along the way with that one too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Sue, for sharing the information about Iris Foundation. It's really close to my heart. We're a little bit, it's a bit of a family project too. Mum's on the board with you guys. Yeah, so I've got
It's
two mums keeping
generational.
me in check now, not just my mum, you as well. But I just wanted to end with something. I've written something here, so I'm just going to read it. Resilience and hope are at the heart of everything Iris Foundation. For listeners who might be struggling or feeling isolated, what message of hope or encouragement would you share with them today?
For those that are feeling isolated,
Yeah. Or struggling. I mean,
I would
Christmas.
say, and I do not like these words, but I would say reach out. I would
Yeah.
say there's somebody that does care, but if the door's shut and you're shut, and don't let them in, that's a difficult one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to connect. You need to share that story with someone, and someone will be there, and somebody will care. Yeah. But isolation is not a good thing. It's not good for any of us. Yeah, and it's not how we were meant
No.
to live life. Deb, we're starting a new
No.
project in January. We have a coffee shop that will
Yes.
opening at the Entrance Community Centre in January. The purpose of that is training of young adults, for transition to work or through the vet program through the high school or whatever. But it has a purpose of training young adults with skills, and also training them in resilience skills as well. So they're very employable stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the dream behind it all. First off, we've got to get the coffee shop running. But the one thing we want to have on that is a table called the Chatty Table.
Tell
And
us.
so
Tell
the
us.
Chatty Table will be for anyone that wants to have a cup of coffee but is up for a chat. Sit yourself at the Chatty Table. And if you don't want to talk to anyone, well, go find yourself another table. But the Chatty Table for anyone that just wants to connect with someone on a day, because to share a coffee with someone in the conversation is an amazing
It's beautiful.
thing. So
I
yeah.
love that idea.
if anyone is feeling isolated, there's lots out there in the community. There's lots of places. For my husband, it's the local library, and it's the ladies behind the counter at the local library that he's fostered a relationship with of some sort.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot out there in our community, but just get out and connect and, you know, say hello, smile, share your story, or if you're needing support, go find that support. Don't sit alone at home because it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sharing your story is so important. If you're not ready to, don't give up on yourself, because, you know, there will be a time when you find that strength to be able to share your story. What I'm thinking about now when I'm saying this is Nikki and I at the Iris Foundation, I've had the pleasure of working with alongside her as a facilitator for those transition to work programs.
Yes.
And that's that age, you know, I think 17 to 25, around that age. And I've witnessed a couple of beautiful transitions in that. It's a
You've had some
4-week
amazing
program.
results. Yes.
Yeah. People that just don't want to talk or share. I think Nikki and I go in, which is the theme of Iris, go in sharing our stories. You know, we're real people. This is what really happens. But we can, you know, we've also got some strengths that we can pull on and draw on. And let's look at your strengths. You know, it's a beautiful space. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's why you're very good at bringing out the strengths in everyone else. And what you do, you exemplify what that is. When you go in there with that very safe, open space that you give them, you know, to share who and what they are and explore what's valuable in them and what's important to them in life. They're amazing life skills to have. Yeah. And the core of what we're doing.
Yeah. And we get to know these people, you know, as individuals, and they're accepted, you know, and maybe for the first time in you know, in their head, you know, but accepting, and then they can start looking at themselves and accepting themselves, because we see the beauty, the, you know, the preciousness, but they don't always see it in themselves.
Oh, we all do that.
Yeah, we all do that. Exactly.
We all do that. There's very few of us that look in the mirror and go, well, that's beautiful today. Yeah.
So true. So true.
Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. The world will be a better place.
Yes, yes. Be kind to the others, and, you know, take care of yourself. That's so true. So what do you got planned for Christmas, Sue?
Oh, it's a Christmas with the family this time. Last time I tried that 2 years ago, I had COVID on Christmas Eve. And the whole thing went to pot. So
yes,
we're in to try again. Santa's coming to my house this year. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And I love hearing about your little grandbabies, and yeah, that when you're off for a week, I'm with my grandbabies, taking care of my grandchildren. So I just love hearing that. I'm not a grandmother yet, but maybe in the next couple of years.
There's joy and exhaustion all wrapped up in one in that. Yeah.
But you can hand them back.
You know, I used to think handing them back meant, oh, they're crying here, mum can deal with it. And it's not that at all.
No.
It's because when you have them, you give them all of you. And as a parent, you can't do that. As a parent,
that's right.
You can't do that on a daily basis. Like I say, I'm exhausted. You just can't keep it up on a daily basis, and life is happening, and you're working, and you've got to cook dinner, and you've got to go shopping, and you've got to. But as a grandparent, when I get them, because they all live, you know, quite a few hours away from us, so when I get them, and and I give them everything. You know,
you're in full
focus.
That's
and
it.
That's how I perceive you can give them back. It's because I'm just done. Here you go. Nana's given what she's got to give.
Well, that's right. You've got the energy. You know that they're going to be picking you up they're going to be picked up at a certain time. But yeah, being a grandma, I'm already in that phase myself. I mean, I've got grand puppies, and even people say, my kids say, are you going to treat your grandchildren like that? And I'm like, yeah. When you're not around, I'll do what I feel like. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyway, we better keep going. Thank you for the chat. Was there anything final that you would like to share before we go?
I don't think so, Deb, other than appreciate what you're doing with this podcast. I was there at the launch, and
Yes.
what you both have in mind and what you're trying to, the information that you're trying to get out there for mums, and what a beautiful name. Does mum have a name? Oh my goodness,
Yes.
because we all feel so invisible as mums sometimes, don't we?
Yeah.
And we're always someone
Yeah.
else's mum, someone else's, that's their mum, but you're there as a person as well. I love the intent of what you're doing here, and I wish you both every success with it. I think it's an amazing platform. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks for
And I
bringing.
know Nicole will be so upset that she couldn't be here,
I
but
would
we'll
love
have
to have
you.
talked to her.
I
Yes,
know.
yes.
So we'll have to have you back.
I do appreciate she's given her soul out there. So yeah.
She really has, hasn't she? She's been the driving force. And yeah, how could you say no to a project like that when she rings you up and says, "This is the plan"? And I'm like, "Oh, I love it. Let's do this." Yeah. I'm missing her today, my right-hand man. But anyway, okay, thank you, Sue. You take care. We'll put
Thank
some
you,
details
Deb.
up about Iris Foundation, and you have an amazing Christmas. And I'll see you at the Tree of Dreams tomorrow night.
Your family too, because I believe it's all at your house as well. So enjoy.
It is my house this year. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that will be another topic altogether. That could be a whole
Thank you
talk
for the opportunity.
about how and why.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. And yes, I will see you at the Tree of Dreams tomorrow night.
Lovely. All right. Thanks, Sue.
Thanks for being a part of.
She's the one behind the scenes, holding up the broken dreams, wiping tears they never see, lost in the shadows of who she used to be. Does mom have a name? Does she have a face?